Hi, friends, it's Tila here, and today I'm just reflecting on my life's journey, really. I guess that happens when you get older. But a lot's been happening, and a lot of the things that I've dreamt of doing in my life are starting to take shape and become, sort of real in this world. And I'm just reflecting back on, how I've got here, but also, those moments where like I really had to have a lot of courage to move forward in changing around my life to enable my dreams to come through. Um, so it's been really interesting just to have this reflection. And I just wanted to create this video today for anyone who is feeling that urge, that pull to create change in their life for positive benefit, and just finding it really hard to take that final step into having the courage to move forward with it. So when I look at my life from 10 years ago from now, it was 2013, and I was still in the job that and the industry that I'd been in since I graduated from university when I was 21. So so it was a good 15-year sort of career. I had a toddler, and I was about to fall pregnant again with my now youngest daughter. And I was in a transition, but I still felt like I was, going to be trying to make do with what I was, the path I was on career-wise. Not just career either, like just life. Having just like that courage to say what I really wanted to say, rather than saying what I thought people wanted me to say. I used to leave the house with one face on. If I was going to work, I'd have another face on. If I was at home, I'd have another face on if I was catching up with friends, and probably another face on if I was like sitting with my family. I was sick of like being multiple people to multiple people. And I just wanted to be me all the time, because I was just I was getting a bit lazy of it all, and tired of it all. But also I knew that there was more to what I wanted to bring into the world. So what happened was probably not how I envisaged things to happen, but I ended up getting quite unwell, to the point where, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's disease, and it all really started to make sense that it's not only it is autoimmune is hereditary, but it needs to be triggered by something. In the case of Hashimoto's, it's very often triggered by stress, or sometimes pregnancy, or sometimes both. Certain life events can lead to it being triggered, and sort of create that that physical the physical side of the disease. It all started to make sense though to me, though, because it's all very focused around the thyroid and the throat area, and I realized I hadn't really been using my voice. I had been suppressing a lot of what I was feeling, for the sake of not wanting to disturb the peace, or not wanting to avoid conflict. But my heart was really crying out for something entirely different to what I was doing. So I started to do a lot more meditation. I started to do a lot more yoga. When I got sick, I started to reflect on, what it was that I was really feeling called forth to bring into the world. And I actually found a series of drawings that I drew, and journals that I'd written in as a 15-year-old. And this was probably the sketch that just made it clear to me. It took me back to exactly the time when I was 15, drawing this picture. And yeah, that's what it says. 4th of November 1996. That was a long time ago when I was 15. But yeah, it was a calling at that time, that in the years to follow, I sort of forgot about. And I think that our 15-year-old selves can tell us a lot about our dreams, and what we want in our futures, if only we listen. So I was writing a lot of the time. I was writing poetry. I was drawing. It was an emotion. It was sort of a tough time at the house. Like, yeah, my parents weren't in a good space, and there was a lot of arguing, and so I found myself retreating to my room a lot, and I was revealing myself to myself, and it was I'm grateful for that time, because I think that my true self was just starting to sprout. And when I was 17, I left home and went to university, which was a few hours away. So I moved out of home when I was 17, which I was perfectly fine to do. I felt very independent. I felt very responsible already. So I was, quite fine. Yes, I'm fine to take on the world. And I enrolled in courses that I really felt called to enroll in. So I was doing communications. I was doing social sociology. I was doing history. I was doing philosophy. And I loved it all. I think I might have been doing some, maybe like some politics as well, politics in the media. And that was like my first year of university, and got to the end of the first year of university, and suddenly there was this pressure that was sort of growing within the faculties that I was studying in, and there was these rumors going around that that we needed to, if we wanted to ensure that we were going to get a job, that we needed to make sure that that we were taking courses and subjects that were going to be more promising to us when we graduated a few years later. And yeah, so went along with that, and allowed fear to carry me over to commerce and marketing courses, and I kept doing the communications and the arts subjects, but I wasn't doing as many of them, and I would eventually study more of the commerce related subjects as I got towards the end of my degree. And I can remember, and I found it actually just recently. I got a letter from the philosophy department, and this is at the University of Wollongong where I was, and they invited me into a program in my second and third years that would allow me to focus more on philosophy. And I'd written this essay that I was really, really, really proud of. And it was all about Descartes. I think it was Descartes and the head in the vat or something. It was like this profound sort of essay and way of thinking, but I loved it. I really felt lit up by it. And I didn't question this as a 20-year-old. I kind of just thought, yeah, like I do want to be earning money, man. I absolutely do not want to be stuck having to compete with thousands of students wanting roles in media and communications, because we'd seen the statistics and we knew that it was like thousands of people wanting jobs and only, a few hundred getting them. And I didn't actually it didn't dawn on me until until these last few years, 8 years, where I have actually returned back to some of the things I wanted to do when I was between the ages of 15 and 18, 19. So I continued. I moved away from a lot of those subjects, and I moved into marketing and commerce and consumer behavior and market research, and I landed a job, as we were all promised would happen if we changed degrees. So I did actually, I started the foundations, and I changed, and it's very, very common to change career directions, a number of times. But I guess from my position now, after I did 15 years in PR, marketing, media, and then more business and management roles, writing funding submissions, running a company that focused on grants and getting money for people ultimately through government funding. I then, decided, I did another degree. I did my MBA. I got a scholarship for it. I was a really high achiever, and I think I'd convinced myself that is what I wanted to do, and that was where I was meant to be. And I was listening to like a lot of men at the time as well, and I guess, I realized that I probably needed a bit more of a balance there, just in the way that I was, sort of approaching my career. But I'm happy to say, like, I've learned, I've learned that the hard way, but also the my way. I feel like I had to do it the way that, and I feel like it was meant to happen the way that it happened as well. So I started to explore opportunities to be able to give myself more time, not only as a mother, because I was a mother of two by the time I was 34, 35, which was 2014, 2015. Hold on a minute. Now I'm lost. I'm like 42 now, and it's 2023. So I was, actually in 2013, I was 32. So in 2014, I was 33, and then in 2015, I was 34. So when I was 34, I went to my yoga class, my regular yoga class, and I just suddenly listened to my teacher, and he'd been saying for years, you should do your teacher training and focus in a little bit more on sharing this with others. So I just kind of went, fuck it, I'm doing it. And it was a big shock to everyone in my life, really, including my husband, including everyone around me, really, when I said I'm leaving, like, this corporate world. I was consulting at the time, and yeah, just I'm leaving this, and and I'm going and doing my yoga training, and I'm going to start teaching yoga to people. So yeah, so that was just the best decision. It was the decision though that required the most courage. It was that decision that then made all the other decisions after it seem a lot smaller in their severity of change in my life. So my message today, and the reason for doing this video, was to I know that there's a lot of people out there who are in that same like sort of vortex as I was in, and I had this opportunity, and it did not make sense to anybody but me. It only made sense to me and my journal, which effectively was me because I was writing in it. But it was the only person that actually really, really, really believed in me that at that moment was myself. And it was so fucking scary. It was so scary. I doubted myself a lot. I stayed up at night thinking, is this really, really like going to work? And I was up anyway because I had a newborn and a toddler and a preschooler maybe, or like a 1-year-old and a 1-year-old and a maybe 4-year-old, 3-year-old. I don't know. It all just becomes a bit of a blur, as any other mom with young kids would understand. So it was eating me alive, but I also knew that if I didn't take that step, then I'd miss it. Like I just felt like it was now, like it just, everything had lined up then and there for me to do it. And I did it, and I just enrolled, and I started to learn. I learned so much about myself, and I think in reflection was exactly what that was for. It was not because I was going to go on to teach yoga wholly and solely for the next 20 years of my life. It was a healing for me, and that was the most beautiful path that I could have taken, learning so much about myself, my body, my mind, like how I could bring myself back. I started writing a lot. It all just started to spew out. I was just journaling a lot. Like I would just have to have a notebook next to me all the time. And suddenly my words were giving me confidence, and then the confidence would give me words. And it was back and forth and back and forth. And I just felt alive. I was so re-energized, and I was so proud of myself. And that took a lot. It was funny. I'd done so much in 15, 20 years. I had achieved like beyond any 20, when I was 27 and I got this scholarship, and I was like just, on a career high, and I was running workshops, and I was like at the top of my game. When I walked away from it, I was earning 6 figures, and the stories, like, they're true. I'm another case of this whole sort of getting to this peak of your career and then going, is that all? Is this what I've been told is going to make me happy forever? Because my God, I was miserable. I was so miserable. So, I think for those of us who do feel like just that incredible pull to follow our desires, no matter how crazy they might seem, you might be leaving like, a really well-paid, really stable job in, like the architecture division of like council or something. And you might be actually aspiring to be a painter and have your work hung up in an art gallery. That's not crazy. It might feel impossible for a little while or a long while, or you may never follow that path and have the courage to follow it. But this video today is telling you to go for it. And if you found this video, then it's for you. So I really, really want to hear about how you go, and reach out to me if you want any, sort of advice, or just someone to say, yes, I think it's a really good idea, do it. Because I feel like if you're here already, you already know you need to do it. You know you need to do it. You just need more people around you that are going to hold you and support you and say, go forth and just follow your dreams. Do it. I was, as I said, in marketing, media, consultancy, writing funding submissions, advocating, lobbying, government. I answered to a lot of clients, a lot of CEO level positions, people who were in power, who thought that they were very powerful as well. And yeah, it was freeing to walk away from all that and discover that it's not our titles, it's not our job titles, it's not how far up we are in a firm or not that defines who we are. Our 15-year-old selves know who we are. Our 2-year-old selves know who we are. My advice today is to return to, your bedroom as a teenager. Who were you when you were 15? What did you want? What did you desire? What did you write down? Anything? Did you draw? Did you create anything? Because when I look at this, when I look at my sketch from when I was 15, it talks to me in a million. It talks to me so much in a million ways. It tells me. It almost says to me, I love you. What are you waiting for? I think he's like, are we just gonna keep doing this, or are you going to move? Are you going to take that step? Because he's like, here we go again. Waiting. I went on to write a lot more, and then I started to write a book, and that was years ago. 2012. I started to pencil out a few things, and then when I had the courage to move forward into my yoga teaching and my training, I started to write more, and then by the time the COVID pandemic hit, I decided that was time. And I was homeschooling, and it was actually a nightmare, and it really didn't feel like time, but it was time. I got a book coach, a mentor, Amy, and she helped so much to make me believe and help me to believe that I could write, and that I could do it. And then I started to explore options on, how I could learn more about this world of publishing and how I could get my book published. And wow, that was so overwhelming, even for someone who'd been in business roles and high level, management positions. I was totally overwhelmed by this whole process, and I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to get published. I'll have to, maybe self-publish my first book and see how that goes. I just didn't think that a publisher would actually be interested in what I had to say, and yeah, because of Amy's support and some of the encouragement I got from other podcasts and courses. Gabby Bernstein, like, she had these podcasts once. It was just all about just like nailing your title, and I did. I feel like I love the title that I came up with. And then in more recent months, I've actually had an offer to publish my book, and now here I am, like, writing it. I've just written one of the final edits, and it's now with the publisher, and then with another editor, and then we're going back to another round. And this manuscript, these scribblings in my journal all those years ago have now sort of led me to this point. And, will the book be successful? I don't know. But I have to say, I don't actually care. I'm just this point for me is just so special, because I've followed this. I followed my heart. I followed my dreams to writing, and it has been just, I don't know, it has been like really surreal. Like, it is just a dream, and I'm going to wake up. But I really had to dig deep to allow myself the space and create the space for myself to be able to follow what my soul was really, really calling out for me to do. And I'm also a crystal therapist now too, and I have a space which is called the Crystal Healing Room. And that's as much about my healing as it is my clients' healing as well. But I never, ever would have done any of this stuff if I hadn't have had that courage in that time when I was just really, really like, I knew it was now or never. I knew I had to do it. In that time when it did not make sense to anybody else but myself, I followed it. And I can't make any promises. I mean, we can only lead the lives that we are born to lead. But I do know that I needed hope in that moment, and I needed courage. And today I just felt that I needed to share little parts of my story with those of you who need to hear it today. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I'm really excited to hear about what you're feeling called to do. And I also want to hear that you've made and taken that first big step towards doing it. Lots of love.